Whitney Houston heard Mariah Carey say, "You can't hit those notes." 2 seconds later, Whitney dropped. The setup. The air in the private lounge of the Beverly Hilton was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, aged whiskey, and the unspoken rivalry that simmered beneath the polished surface of the music industry. It was the after-party for the 1995 Grammy Awards, and the room was a constellation of stars, producers, and label executives, all basking in the glow of their collective achievements. Amidst the glittering crowd, two women stood out, not just for their undeniable beauty and presence, but for the sheer vocal power they commanded, each a reigning monarch in her own right. Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. Whitney, radiant in a shimmering gown, held court near a grand piano, her laughter echoing with that familiar, effortless warmth that could fill an arena. Her career was a testament to raw, unadulterated talent, a voice that soared with gospel-infused power and an emotional depth that could bring listeners to their knees. She was the voice of a generation, the voice, with a capital V, a force of nature whose every note was a masterclass in control and passion. Across the room, Mariah, a vision in sleek satin, was surrounded by her own entourage, her signature cascade of curls framing a face that exuded both youthful exuberance and steely determination. Her ascent had been meteoric, her 5-octave range and unparalleled ability to weave intricate melismas and piercing whistle tones into her melodies setting her apart. She was the architect of her own sound, a meticulous craftsman of vocal acrobatics, pushing the boundaries of what a pop singer could achieve. The media, ever hungry for a narrative, had long pitted them against each other. The Battle of the Divas, they called it, a manufactured rivalry that both women publicly dismissed but privately acknowledged with a competitive glint in their eyes. They respected each other's artistry, understood the immense pressure that came with their gifts, but the unspoken question always lingered. Who was truly the queen? Who possessed the ultimate vocal weapon? Tonight, the atmosphere was charged with a different kind of energy. A spontaneous jam session had broken out around the piano. Legendary musicians traded licks, and singers, emboldened by champagne and camaraderie, took turns showcasing their talents. The room was a symphony of impromptu brilliance, a rare glimpse behind the curtain of polished performances. Mariah had just finished an astonishing improvisational run, her voice climbing effortlessly into the stratosphere with a series of whistle tones that seemed to defy human physiology. The notes were so high, so pure, they felt like crystal shattering in the air, leaving the room in stunned silence before erupting into thunderous applause. She smiled, a triumphant, confident smile, acknowledging the mastery she had just displayed. As the applause began to subside, Mariah, still buzzing from her performance, turned to her producer, Walter Afanasieff, who was beaming beside her. Her voice, though intended for him, carried clearly across the hushed room, a playful, almost teasing lilt to it. "Honestly, Walter," she said, a slight shrug of her shoulders, "I just don't think anyone else can really hit those notes. Not like that, anyway. It's a different kind of instrument, you know?" The words hung in the air, seemingly innocent, a casual boast from a singer at the peak of her powers. But in the context of the room, with Whitney Houston standing just a few yards away, the implication was unmistakable. It wasn't a direct challenge, not an insult, but a confident assertion of her unique vocal territory, a subtle declaration that some heights were exclusively hers. Whitney, who had been chatting animatedly with Clive Davis, her mentor and the head of Arista Records, paused mid-sentence. Her smile faltered, just for a fraction of a second. Her eyes, usually so warm and expressive, narrowed almost imperceptibly. She had heard every single word. The casual dismissal, the confident claim of an unassailable vocal fortress. Clive, ever attuned to the subtle shifts in the room, noticed Whitney's sudden stillness. He followed her gaze to Mariah, who was now laughing with her team, seemingly oblivious to the ripple her words had caused. He knew Whitney. He knew that quiet intensity, that flicker of competitive fire that ignited when her artistry was questioned. A hush fell over Whitney's immediate circle. Her background singers, her band members, her publicist, they all sensed the shift. They knew what Mariah's words meant, and they knew what Whitney was capable of. The air crackled with anticipation, a silent challenge issued, and, it seemed, Accepted. Whitney took a slow, deliberate sip of her champagne, her eyes still fixed on Mariah. A slow, knowing smile began to form on her lips, a smile that held both amusement and a hint of something far more formidable. It was the smile of a queen who had just been reminded of her crown and was about to remind everyone else of its weight. She placed her glass down on the piano, the delicate clink echoing in the sudden quiet that had begun to spread from her corner of the room. Her gaze met Mariah's across the space, a silent communication passing between the two divas. Mariah, catching Whitney's eye, offered a polite, if slightly wary, nod. She hadn't meant to provoke, but she wasn't one to back down either. Whitney then turned to the pianist, a seasoned session musician who had played with everyone from Aretha Franklin to Stevie Wonder. Her voice, now clear and resonant, cut through the remaining murmurs in the room. "Mind if I borrow that for a moment, darling?" she asked, her tone deceptively sweet. The pianist, sensing the moment, simply nodded, a knowing grin spreading across his face. He moved aside, making way for Whitney. The crowd, now fully aware of the impending showdown, began to part, creating a clear path to the piano. Every eye in the room was on Whitney Houston. The stage was set. If you're already captivated by this legendary showdown, don't miss a single note. Subscribe to our channel for more untold stories from the world of music and entertainment. Hit that subscribe button and join our community. The silence that descended upon the lounge was not merely the absence of sound. It was a palpable entity, heavy with expectation and the collective breath held by dozens of industry titans. Whitney Houston stood before the grand piano, her back to the crowd for a moment, her shoulders squared. She ran a hand over the polished wood, a gesture of connection to the instrument, a silent communion with the music that was about to flow through her. Mariah, across the room, watched with a mixture of curiosity and a flicker of apprehension. She hadn't intended to throw down a gauntlet, not explicitly. Her comment had been born of genuine pride in her unique vocal gift, a gift she had honed with relentless dedication. She knew her whistle tones were a rarity, a vocal feat that few could replicate. But she also knew Whitney. She knew the power that lay dormant, waiting to be unleashed within that magnificent voice. A part of her, the competitive part, was thrilled by the challenge. Another part, the respectful artist, felt a tremor of awe for what was about to unfold. Clive Davis, standing beside Whitney, offered a reassuring squeeze to her arm. He knew this wasn't about ego for Whitney. It was about artistry. It was about proving that the voice, her voice, was an instrument of unparalleled versatility and power, capable of anything. He had seen her do it countless times in the studio, in rehearsals, in moments of pure, unadulterated inspiration. But never quite like this, in front of such a discerning, critical audience, with so much unspoken history hanging in the balance. Whitney turned, facing the room, her expression serene, almost beatific. There was no anger, no overt challenge in her eyes, only a profound sense of purpose. She nodded to the pianist, who had taken a seat on the bench, his fingers poised over the keys. "Just a simple chord progression, darling," she murmured, her voice low and rich. "Something that can build." The pianist began to play, a gentle, ascending arpeggio that slowly filled the room, a delicate foundation for the vocal edifice that was about to be constructed. It was a familiar, almost gospel-like progression, hinting at the roots of Whitney's unparalleled vocal prowess. The notes were clean, pure, inviting. Whitney closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep, measured breath. Her chest expanded, a silent testament to the incredible lung capacity that fueled her voice. The room held its breath with her. Every producer, every singer, every musician present understood the gravity of this moment. This wasn't just a performance, it was a statement. She began to sing, softly at first, a low, resonant hum that vibrated through the room, a warm, inviting tone that immediately drew everyone in. It was a sound that spoke of comfort, of home, of the deep well of emotion that resided within her. Then, slowly, she began to ascend, her voice climbing the scale with an almost imperceptible ease. The notes were perfectly pitched, each one a pearl strung on a silken thread. She wasn't pushing, not yet. She was exploring, teasing, inviting the audience to join her on a journey. Her eyes were still closed, her head tilted slightly back, as if listening to an inner melody only she could hear. Mariah watched, her own breath catching in her throat. She recognized the technique, the flawless control, the sheer beauty of the tone. Whitney wasn't trying to mimic her whistle tones. She was preparing to demonstrate something else entirely, something that was uniquely hers. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. People leaned forward, their champagne glasses forgotten, their conversations abandoned. This was a moment that would be talked about for years, a legend in the making. Whitney's voice grew stronger, richer, gaining momentum with each ascending note. She moved from a chest voice, full and powerful, into her mixed voice, where the power of her lower register seamlessly blended with the clarity of her head voice. There was no break, no strain, only a smooth, continuous flow of sound that seemed to defy the very concept of vocal registers. She opened her eyes, her gaze sweeping across the room, meeting Mariah's for a fleeting moment. There was no malice, no triumph, only a shared understanding of the artistry they both revered. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated vocal expression, a conversation between two titans, spoken in the universal language of music. The pianist, guided by some unspoken cue, began to add more complexity to the chords, building a richer harmonic tapestry beneath Whitney's soaring voice. The music swelled, filling every corner of the opulent lounge, transforming it from a mere party space into a sacred arena for vocal mastery. Whitney's voice was now a torrent, a river of sound that flowed with incredible power and precision. She was reaching for the stars, not with the delicate, piercing precision of a whistle tone, but with the full-throated, soul-stirring might of a true soprano. She was demonstrating not just range, but power within that range, a sustained, resonant force that few could ever hope to achieve. The air vibrated with the sheer force of her voice. It was a sound that didn't just hit the ear, it resonated deep within the chest, a physical sensation that left listeners breathless. She was pushing the boundaries of her own instrument, not to prove a point, but to answer a challenge, to remind everyone of the unique, God-given talent that had made her a legend. The crescendo was building, the pianist's hands flying across the keys, the room completely silent save for the magnificent sound of Whitney Houston's voice. She was about to reach the apex, the moment of truth, the point where the notes became almost impossibly high, yet still imbued with that signature Whitney power and emotion. The stage was set for the ultimate vocal declaration. Did Whitney's build-up give you chills? If you're loving this dramatic retelling, show your appreciation. Hit the like button and let us know you're enjoying the story. Your likes help us create more content like this. The room was a single, collective gasp. Whitney Houston's voice, having ascended through a breathtaking series of scales and improvisations, now hovered at an altitude that seemed to defy gravity. She wasn't just hitting notes, she was inhabiting them, infusing each one with a raw, unvarnished emotion that transcended mere technicality. The pianist, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and exhilaration, followed her every nuance, his fingers dancing across the keys, providing a foundation that was both supportive and reverent. Mariah Carey, who had been standing with her arms crossed, a picture of composed confidence, now found her jaw slackening. Her eyes, usually so sharp and analytical, were wide with a genuine, unfeigned astonishment. She had heard Whitney sing countless times, admired her power, but this was different. This wasn't a polished studio take or a stadium performance. This was raw, unscripted, and utterly, devastatingly brilliant. Whitney's voice, having reached a stratospheric high C, didn't just touch it, she owned it. It was a note of pure, crystalline clarity, sustained with an effortless power that seemed to mock the very concept of vocal strain. But she wasn't done. She held the note, letting it resonate, allowing its purity to wash over the stunned audience. Then, with a subtle shift in her diaphragm, she began to ascend further. It wasn't a whistle tone, not in Mariah's signature style. It was something else entirely, a full, resonant head voice, imbued with the rich, soulful timbre that was uniquely Whitney. She climbed, note by impossible note, pushing past the high C, past the D, reaching for an E-flat that seemed to exist only in the realm of angels. The sound was not thin or reedy, It was robust, vibrant, a powerful declaration of vocal supremacy. The note hung in the air, shimmering, vibrating with an almost spiritual intensity. It was a sound that bypassed the ears and went straight to the soul, a testament to a gift that was both divine and painstakingly honed. Every person in that room, from the most jaded executive to the most accomplished musician, felt the impact. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated vocal magic, a sound that would forever be etched into their memories. Whitney held the E-flat for what felt like an eternity, her eyes now open, gazing directly at Mariah. There was no challenge in her look, no "I told you so." Instead, there was a profound understanding, a shared moment of artistic communion. It was a look that said, "This is what I do. This is who I am." Then, with a final, breathtaking flourish, she descended, not abruptly, but with a controlled, cascading run that brought her back down to a powerful, chest-voice belt. The transition was seamless, a testament to her absolute mastery of her instrument. The final note, a resonant, soulful declaration, filled the room, a perfect, powerful period to an astonishing vocal sentence. The sound faded, leaving an echoing silence in its wake. For 2 seconds, the room remained utterly still, suspended in the aftermath of such raw, unbridled talent. No one moved, no one spoke. The air thrummed with the residual energy of Whitney's voice. Then, with a soft, almost imperceptible sigh, Whitney Houston lowered the microphone from her lips. Her eyes, still shining with the intensity of her performance, scanned the room, a faint, triumphant smile playing on her lips. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her voice had spoken volumes. And then, with a flourish of her hand, a gesture of finality and pure, unadulterated mic drop swagger, she let the microphone fall from her grasp. It hit the plush carpet with a soft thud, a punctuation mark to the most incredible vocal display many in that room had ever witnessed. Her shoulders relaxed, a visible release of the immense energy she had just expended. She took another deep breath, a slight tremor running through her frame, a testament to the physical exertion of such a feat. Her eyes met Clive Davis's, and he simply nodded, a look of profound pride and awe on his face. Mariah Carey, who had been frozen in place, slowly began to move. She walked deliberately across the room, her eyes never leaving Whitney. The crowd parted for her, sensing the significance of the moment. When she reached Whitney, she didn't speak immediately. She simply extended her hand, a gesture of profound respect. Whitney took her hand, her smile widening. The competitive fire had burned bright, but now, in its wake, was a shared understanding, a mutual admiration that transcended any manufactured rivalry. "Whitney," Mariah said, her voice barely a whisper, filled with genuine awe. You are truly something else." She shook her head, a small, disbelieving laugh escaping her lips. "I stand corrected. Those notes. You don't just hit them, you own them." A ripple of relieved laughter and applause finally broke the spell that had held the room captive. The tension dissolved, replaced by a joyous celebration of pure, unadulterated vocal artistry. People rushed forward, eager to congratulate Whitney, to bask in the afterglow of a truly legendary moment. But it was Mariah's acknowledgement that truly resonated. In that moment, the battle of the divas wasn't won or lost. It was transcended. It became a testament to the extraordinary power of two women, each a master of her craft, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible, and in doing so, elevating the art form itself. Whitney had dropped the mic, but in doing so, she had lifted the spirits of everyone who had been privileged enough to witness her unparalleled gift. What an incredible moment. If Whitney's performance left you speechless, share your thoughts. Leave a comment below and tell us what you think about this fictional showdown and the power of these two legendary voices. The lounge erupted into a cacophony of cheers, applause, and excited chatter. The spell was broken, but the memory of Whitney Houston's performance would linger, a whispered legend in the annals of music history. Producers, artists, and executives swarmed her, their faces alight with a mixture of awe and renewed respect. Clive Davis, his eyes glistening with pride, embraced her tightly. "That, my dear," he whispered in her ear, "was simply magnificent." Whitney, still catching her breath, smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that reached her eyes. The competitive fire had receded, replaced by the warmth of accomplishment and the shared joy of a moment of pure artistry. She accepted the accolades gracefully, her humility as striking as her talent. Mariah, after her initial stunned reaction, found herself smiling too. There was no bitterness, no resentment, only a profound sense of admiration. She had witnessed greatness, a different kind of greatness than her own, but greatness nonetheless. The media had always tried to paint them as rivals, but in that moment, they were simply two artists, bound by a shared passion and an understanding of the immense dedication their craft demanded. Later that night, as the party began to wind down, Whitney and Mariah found themselves in a quieter corner of the lounge, away from the main throng. They sat on a plush velvet couch, a shared sense of camaraderie settling between them. "You know," Mariah began, a thoughtful look on her face, "when I said that, I really did think those notes were mine. That specific kind of high. It's what I've worked on, what I've built." She paused, then met Whitney's gaze. "But what you did, that was something else entirely. It wasn't just high, it was full. It was powerful. It was Whitney." Whitney chuckled, a rich, melodic sound. "And what you do, darling, with those whistle tones, that's pure Mariah. Nobody touches that. It's like comparing a soaring eagle to a hummingbird. Both fly, both beautiful, but entirely different journeys." "An eagle and a hummingbird," Mariah mused, a small smile playing on her lips. "I like that. It's true, isn't it? We both just want to fly as high as we can." "Exactly," Whitney agreed. "And tonight, we both reminded everyone that the sky's big enough for all of us." They talked for a while longer, not about rivalry or competition, but about the sheer joy of singing, the challenges of the industry, the sacrifices they had made for their art. It was a conversation between two queens, not vying for a single throne, but acknowledging the vastness of their shared kingdom. The incident, though never officially reported by the press, became an industry legend. Whispers of the night Whitney dropped the mic circulated for years, a testament to her unparalleled vocal prowess. It didn't diminish Mariah's standing. If anything, it solidified the respect she commanded for her own unique gifts and for her gracious acknowledgement of Whitney's triumph. For Whitney, the moment was a powerful reminder of her own strength, a reaffirmation of the raw, untamed power that lay within her. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy in her craft, a testament to the fact that even at the pinnacle of success, there were always new heights to reach, new boundaries to push. It was a moment that transcended ego, becoming a celebration of the human voice in its most magnificent form. In the years that followed, both women continued to dominate the music world, their legacies growing with each passing hit. They would occasionally cross paths, always with a nod of mutual respect, a shared smile that hinted at the unspoken understanding forged on that memorable night. The media might continue to fan the flames of rivalry, but for Whitney and Mariah, the competitive fire had transformed into a deep, abiding admiration. The memory of that night, of Whitney Houston's voice soaring to impossible heights, of the microphone dropping with a soft thud, became a symbol. It wasn't just about hitting notes. It was about hitting the soul. It was about the power of a voice to transcend words, to convey emotion so profound it left an entire room breathless. It was a moment when the world was reminded that some talents are simply beyond compare, a gift from above, delivered with an earthly grace that could only belong to Whitney. And in that moment, as the microphone fell, it wasn't just a challenge answered. It was a legacy cemented, a testament to the enduring, incomparable artistry of Whitney Houston, the voice that could truly do anything. If this story of vocal supremacy and mutual respect resonated with you, don't let the music stop. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another captivating story about the legends who shaped our world. Join us as we explore the moments that define greatness.